David Orrell is a Canadian gentleman who is 1 year older than me, and he's written utter nonsense about quantum economics. But more recently, he's trying to show that quantum economics of his nonsensical sort is feminist, and and he wrote something in Aeon magazine to that effect. Now, I left a comment on what he'd said, and his response was, "Oh, well, you say that you're almost infinitely less stupid than I am, which means you're infinitely smarter. But of course, if you know anything about mathematics, when you're 16, you find out that there's denumerable infinity, there's a non-denumerable infinity, and you know about the continuum hypothesis and stuff like that. So, this guy is stupid. But somehow I thought that because he's like Canadian, he could be like, there are a lot of smart Canadians. I always thought that William Laurier was Canadian, but he's not. He's but he's an American who went to Canada. I like Canada because it's such a Tory country. It's a country where the French and the American and the French and the Bolshevik revolutions. The Laurentian elite of Canada, they wouldn't have any luck with that. And even when that consensus broke down, it was Trudeau, father and son, who carried on a tradition which we in India can sympathize with. Now, I need to let you listen to what this fucking cretin, David Orrell, actually sounds like. And he's got more hair than I do. But he's ugly. Well, that's subjective. I think women would probably find him more attractive. But I am more attractive, and I can prove that. I'm more attractive to female Anopheles mosquitoes, which carry malaria. And so anyway, let us hear from this fucking cretin.
And then I actually worked on particle.
To the heavy stuff, and just give you a chance to introduce yourself and what you've done with your career up until now.
Okay, well, I'm an applied mathematician by training, so I studied at the University of Alberta. And then I actually worked on went to work for an engineering firm that was building a particle accelerator. So I worked in that area for a few years, and then I ended up working at the Superconducting Super Collider, which is this lab that you might have heard of back in the 90s that was, it was going to be this huge thing. It was a bit like the CERN, the Large Hadron Collider they have there in Switzerland, but even bigger. And unfortunately, it got killed by the government kind of around 1995. So, I was looking around for something else. So I ended up going back to university. I did a PhD in I got interested in like nonlinear dynamics and chaos, and so my thesis was on that. Applied to that.
So, in other words, this is a guy who's 1 year older than me, who didn't even fucking graduate until 2 years after I did. I graduated at 19. I went to the LSE. I actually know economics. I actually know some maths. No, I didn't actually. I had exposure to maths, but I thought it was shit. And I also thought that I didn't need to attend any fucking lectures at a second-rate place like LSE in order to understand maths, because that's not what Ramanujan did. When you're at a shit place like the LSE, or like the whatever college they had in Kumbakonam, or they had in Alberta, or wherever, you just fucking do the maths. Yeah, but you find applications. Now, I was interested in the not so much the applications, but the pure theory. And I've stuck to that. I'm a social proctologist. What does that mean? It means pointing a finger at fucking assholes or shitting on everything. And of course, they're not mathematicians. They say that they're applied mathematicians. It's just that they're applying mathematics in a shitty manner, so as to shit higher than their assholes. So Amartya Sen, not a mathematician. Sukumar Chakravarti, not a mathematician. Mahala Nobis, not a mathematician. These are applied guys who fucked up India, and they're shit. Now, of course, you have pure mathematicians. You have Karl McGraw, you have Kantorovich, you have people in the Marxist tradition. You have William Lovier from Canada. This guy's Canadian, William Lovier. Lovier wasn't Canadian, he's American, but because of the Vietnam War and Nixon, he went to Canada, and he's an interesting man. I don't say that he's done much, but he's interesting. And there's Grothendieck, who's definitely anti-war. Compare Lovier to Grothendieck. Grothendieck, important. But what is the applied mathematics to all this? And the answer is the applied mathematics is just mathematics. That's it. Mathematics tells you why you can't apply this type of abelian, locally compact, Pontaragian duality type ideas into any space, any configuration space, which is non-abelian, which is not locally compact, and that's fucking obvious, We know that there was some sort of a notion of duality and of conjugacy in economics, which comes from Samuelson and, direct and indirect utility functions, cost functions, as being the dual of supply functions. But we also know that it wasn't true. We also know that wherever anybody thought there was a conjugacy relationship, we also know that where any fucking regularity appeared, which appeared to be conjugate, like Okun's law, the Phillips curve, the fucking thing broke down immediately. It was, anybody tried to use it to instrumentalize it. We know Goodhart's law, we know Rossi's metallic laws, which basically say that we are not talking about Ponte-Reagian duality or, Fourier transform, where you have a Fourier transform or some, where you have functors of that sort. That there will be some uncertainty relationship, like the Heisenberg uncertainty relationship, whereby if you try to measure one variable, you can reduce the error term, but the result is that the conjugate variable, the error term goes to infinity. This is uncertainty principle. But that is a pure artifact of the theory. It's got nothing to do with reality. And economics is about reality, where, unlike in quantum mechanics and so on, where you're actually treating of things which are far beyond common experience, things which exist only in the CERN reactor and stuff like that. No, this is bloody stupid shit. So what does Orrell have to say for himself? Let's hear more. Let's hear more. This is a man 1 year older than me, and believe me, he actually looks like shit compared to me. He looks like a fucking pedo. Oh dear. I shouldn't have said that, should I? Well, fuck it. He looks like a fucking pedo. I'm not saying he is.
Forecasting, but generally, prediction of complex nonlinear systems And so I worked in computational biology, which of course is sort of ultimate example perhaps of that. And so I do consulting now in that area, and I also write books on science and economics.
I want to get into your books in just a moment,
Computational
but before I do that,
biology.
maybe you could just give us some baby steps into what it is that this is really all about. Can you explain what it is that economics has to do with things like genetics and the weather? What is at the core of your work?
Yeah, well, they seem kind of unrelated in a way, but they're all examples of nonlinear complex organic systems, so we don't,
So this fucking, but this is not a complex cretin. He's just a simple cretin. He's just talking shit. You see, he's not smart. If he was smart, he'd have done maths. But because he didn't do maths, because he wasn't smart enough to do maths, he went into applied maths, and then he went into wherever, people would pay him a little money. They'd say, oh, well, we're doing biology. Come and maths up, what we're doing. So he is a fucking prostitute. He is not smart. He doesn't know more maths than I do. And, the fact that he got a fucking PhD from Cambridge or whatever is misleading, because a lot of these fucking PhDs are useless. What he didn't have was what I do, which is that I went to university when I was 16, and I was smart enough to, at the age of 17, sit in and get or do the heavy lifting sort of maths. But he didn't. Now, I failed to sit for my exams in those in-depth nonsense, because it had nothing to do with economics. It was stupid. And the other thing is that the other kids in the class were as stupid as shit. There was no point. And the lecturer was fucking horrible. There were about 5 kids in the class in topology and game theory. And they were, stupid as shit. And, I knew these guys were losers, the teacher's a loser, this is nonsense. The only way, this type of game theory is interesting if you're playing games against nature. The strategic element, which is what arises in the social sciences, is completely missing. This is, Kaushik Basu type idiocy. It's nonsense. So I was right, and these fucking cunts were wrong. And let's now listen to
genetics.
Orrell.
Obviously, it's like this, a very, very complex system where it's very hard to kind of predict the outcome just from.
So this worthless man doesn't understand the price equation. He doesn't understand John Maynard Smith. The fact is that by the time I went to university, it was obvious. I didn't know it. I didn't know it a little bit later on. That you have Hayden inconsistency, you have machine learning, you have evolutionary stable stages, and what is going to inform them is a MUWA, multiplicative update weighting algorithm, which is Hayden consistent. It's machine learning. It's all this is fucking obvious. The terminology may have been novel, but this fucking cretin is talking.
Knowing about the genes and so on, so reductionist models don't really work all that well. The weather system, climate, we don't really think of that maybe as being an organic system, but actually, the thing which distinguishes, like James Lovelock showed, things which distinguishes kind of living planets from dead planets is the fact that, living planets have an atmosphere. It's all created by life forces, respiration of plants, animals, and all this kind of thing is what creates it. So that's like another.
So, this is the stupidity to which this fucking cunt subscribes to. You see, the point about Lovelock and so on is that there was empirical evidence of ozone hole and so on. And but Lovelock, of course, the Gaia hypothesis, it also had, thanks to Lynn Margulis and others, there was a transmission mechanism which was at the level of the gene of extended phenotype, but Lynn Margulis had this notion that the providuses, Temin providuses, would go out and but it was nonsense. It was hippy-dippy. It was nonsense. And this fucking cretin, he look at him, fucking looks like a horse. Doesn't have a nice tummy like me. Yes, with superb teeth, the teeth of a horse. So let me now randomly sample this cretinous
general equilibrium models that are used to model the macro economy, right? So what these do. So this kind of goes back to work from the 1950s, where basically they used game theory result in order to say that if you have free markets, they automatically lead to an optimal Pareto
optimal. This man doesn't know any fucking economics at all. And the fact is that general equilibrium models are not necessarily game theoretic at all. They are founded in a thermodynamic and Walrasian approach, which is an operation approach. What game theory did was, in the von Neumann, who straddled the gap between the hard sciences and economics, he creates game theory. But you see, the Nash equilibrium was superseded by the notion of Thomas Schelling coordination, focal solutions to coordination games. What we're talking about is coordination. He was superseded by Robert Orman, the notion of correlated equilibrium based on public signals, and of course this entire debate crashed and burned. It was useless. There was no fucking mathematics here, there's no game theory here, because of the Meyerson feasibility theorem, the only mechanism design matters, nothing else. That's as Alan Gibbard, who used to be smart, now he's just fucking talks what the shit. The revelation principle. That's it. This is the end of this stupid story. The homeless fucking David Orrell.
Optimal is kind of a technical kind of optimality equilibrium, where basically you can't change anything without making at least one person worse off. So
this boring and stupid cunt is the sort of the antiparticle created by the fact that Canadians have no souls. That if Jordan Petersen, says something sensible, then by an equal and opposite reaction, some other fucking Canadian cunt who does no shit has to pretend that quantum mechanics is actually Karen Barrard and feminist and loosey-goosey, and what's the point of this fucking piece of shit? Seriously. Now, he may have made money, because anybody can make money, but what is the fucking point to these worthless cunt? Now, by contrast, the fact of the matter is that Canada has produced, the very existence of Canada, and it produces good people, and there is a notion there is something about Canada which is quite extraordinary. I would appeal to category theory. I would say that there is some, Canada is in some sense a dual or adjunct to craziness which happens elsewhere. But these guys have always kept their head. It is the ultimate Tory or conservative antidote to revolutionary stupidity. It is the triumph of the folk theorem of repeated games. And I am certain that Canada, the Canadian people, not a shithead like Orrell or whatever, but Petersen, there's some point to him. There's no point to Orrell at all. But Canada will continue to be a very, very important, certainly for the Commonwealth, it will be very important. And maybe Canadians, if they have no soul, maybe they have the oversoul. Maybe they participate in the oversoul. I love them. I love Canadians. I actually liked the Love Guru. Sad. Mind it kindly.